Hey guys, future Willows here, coming at you from like what, a month and a half after this episode was recorded. So as you're about to hear, I was very, very intoxicated before we even started recording. I was having a bad week. It's a long story, but thankfully my employee Ellie was able to drive me home and then came on the podcast for the episode. So it's actually not a bad episode if you can get over my incoherency and my stumbling over my words and slurring, and I think I broke a cup at some point. If you can get over that, it's not a bad episode. But because I usually do the audio engineering during the podcast, and I was so drunk, my mic was on was like quieter, like significantly quieter. It was on pad mode, so it was like significantly quieter than it should be. So I've done some post-production fixes here, but just so you know, going into it, if there's weird, you can't hear what I'm saying, I did the best I could, trying to boost up the sound. So anyway, thank you for listening. Follow us, Alcohol Beyond This Point, on whatever, and I will see you in a second from past land.
Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast.
Thank you.
This, like, bringing people on this podcast is, like, questionable, right?
Do I put these on?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that won't help you.
Okay.
Everyone who comes on is like, it's a thought, right? We
Yeah.
gotta like make a thought before we get them on. And this guest is not a thought. This is just
I'm not a thought. Thank you.
welcome. This is Ellie. She is a employee of mine. She does liquor mart sampling and liquor sales and etc. And she's also very drunk, so
Not very drunk.
okay.
It's just you, Willows.
Hello, Ellie. This is the Figure Out How We Do the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever done this before?
Here's the thing, is that there's a lot of things that make a lot of money, Tyler, that me and you have no idea what the fuck is going on. Right?
Most things.
Well, yeah, maybe most things, but like,
I need help.
I was gonna say, you need a hand?
Yeah.
Opening cans is not conducive to long nails.
No, it's not. But they look
Or
great.
drunk Willows, apparently.
Okay, sir.
You would assume, Tyler, that our knowledge of things isn't exactly conducive to, like, maybe what can make a lot of money, right? Like,
Lately-
so we're like, oh, we know how to make money doing real estate flips. So we talk about that, but then a lot of people are like, I don't know what the fuck we're talking about, right? So one of those things, one of those situations that me and you don't know what the fuck we're talking about is fashion.
Oh,
Gosh.
certainly. I buy like 3 things annually, and that's...
Hey, that is a really great way to not overconsume. So
yeah.
I think that's actually you
Right.
deserve praise for that. So
Well,
good
thank
job.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So if you're listening and you hear that third voice here, Ellie is here.
Mm-hmm.
She is a major of a, what is it called? Fashion marketing? What do you
Yeah,
call it?
fashion marketing major.
So she is a fashion marketing major of the University of British Columbia.
Nope, that's completely not true at all. University of British Columbia doesn't have a fashion program, but I go to the Wilson School of Design in BC.
So worse than the University of British Columbia.
Yeah.
Okay, Lord.
Yeah.
And but so point being, you know how to sell clothes to me.
Sure.
Sure.
Well, I mean, it's.
But okay, so
I feel like it's not that black and white. Like I'm learning how to build a brand. Is that?
Yeah, so I guess I'm completely uninitiated to whatever it is the hell that you're learning about. So could you want to outline the kind of things that you guys focus on?
I can outline. Okay, so my program is 2 years. I do things that are along the lines of learning how to merchandise clothing, learning how to work with customers, learning how to visually communicate, and learning how to digitally design things using like Adobe software and stuff like that. So that's been really cool. I quit my retail job to come and work for you again. So I not.
Yeah. For context, Ellie works for me selling wine, and that's why me and her were training today an employee. So we got her drunk as fuck, basically. We gave her a sample of every like core product we have, and she was like, I'm drunk. Mm-hmm. And then we just kept drinking after that.
Yeah.
But
no, but I feel like part of my wanting to go into fashion or marketing specifically was because of you guys and because of like the impact that you had on me after working here and being like, oh, I got to be a part of the business side of a business. That was cool, and I didn't feel just like a cog in your machine or whatever. Like I was a real human to you, so you were teaching me things about business that I totally didn't know before, and kind of like found it interesting, and then was like, I wonder if there's a program where I can incorporate my favorite thing into business.
What's the most interesting thing you actually learned from Willows? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
This guy loves to be like, Willows doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
I don't. I feel like I haven't really necessarily gotten like, this is what you should do if you open your own business kind of advice from him. I think a lot of the advice comes from like let the product speak for itself kind of thing. So maybe my appreciation towards it has been like, if I make a good product that I believe in, then it'll sell. I guess that would be the biggest thing, is like believing in the product that you're selling.
Yeah, I don't want to be you say, Tyler, but like, I think all the time is like, it's the product that leads. Like, you can be the best fucking salesman in the world, but if you have a shitty product, you're not going to be able to move it to people.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're not excited about it, it can be like okay, and you still can't fucking move it, right?
Yeah.
I think I mean I've been inspired by working for a lot of different people, and it's a lot of kind of soft lessons is maybe the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
Just being around it and seeing how human business is.
Yeah, exactly.
It
seems very like out of reach when you look at it in a big scale, I
Absolutely.
guess. Like, oh, am I looking at Walmart? Of course I can't. You know, there's such an untouchable company that it's like, yeah. But I feel like I worked for a small business before, but I definitely didn't feel like I was a part of the team. So I think maybe my inclination to come back and help you guys out was that I felt like I was an important part of your team, which I liked.
Well, that was one of the things that like, and this is like a good, we have a literal, like we have both sides from our job interview. Mm-hmm. And you worked in a small business, but you weren't happy necessarily with that situation. But like, I feel like, well, and Tyler can kind of like back this up. Like, I feel like my business is like not exactly like it's not like we have like set rules and set like, this is how this corporation works, and this is like, we're kind of make it up as we go along kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? But like, why would that be attractive to somebody that's looking for a job? Like that, because for the average person, that seems kind of fucking weird, right? Like, oh, I don't have like a regular job, I don't have a regular time. Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
I think what it was is that like, it honestly came down to, I'm willing to work with you guys and help you guys find
You should see how he usually does it. He usually climbs on the table. and then I have to hold on to the table for dear life, and I'm waiting for it to all come crashing down.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty simple, honestly. It's like I was treated like shit. Like my boss would walk into your room and like not even acknowledge me, like actually say hi to everyone else in the room except for me.
Nice.
And it's just
an
like
just an intentional action of
like
being an
actually
asshole,
yeah. So it's like when you are just nice to somebody and you can sympathize with them. It's like if you're nice to me and you come to me with a human reaction, like when I met you, I was like, oh, this guy is like a real person. Like he's doing this business because he cares about it and because he's passionate about it, not just because he wants to make money. That spoke to me, and that's what made me want to work for you guys, because I was like, oh cool, he actually cares about me, and then he can tell that I care about his business and him, you know, obviously, because I want him to succeed and whatever. So yeah, and now it's like because I was treated like shit at the other job, I'm like, fuck you guys, I hope you go under. Like, I actually hope you fail. Because, I don't know, it's, yeah, I guess kindness goes a long way, probably.
And, yeah, so I hired Ellie, you were 3 weeks after you turned 18?
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you're listening, about 60% of our listeners are in the United States, so you can't drink there until you're
60% of the 20?
All time ever.
But so I had her
Not 20 all time ever.
Okay.
Maybe though.
Yeah.
a few months after you were legal to drink,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you this before, but my thing, one of the main things I took a note of why I hired you,
Mm-hmm.
is because I asked you, do you have any experience with like local alcohol or like local breweries or whatever? And you just paused for a second. You said, well, I don't want to like wrap myself out, but I've been drinking since I was like 16. And I've been drinking these local breweries and
Yeah.
these whatever. And I remember making a note of just like, that's funny.
Yeah.
She was like open with me. She was like, told me that this and like,
Yeah.
you know, and so that's what what got you from like the last 10 people to like the last 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
I
I think that's the human part of it, though, right? Like you spoke to me in a way that I felt comfortable enough to open up to you in a less professional setting. Like if it was a job interview at Superstore, then yeah, I might have acted differently or whatever. But I think that there was like, I could tell that we were vibing, I guess. And I was like, okay, I feel comfortable enough with him to be able to like make a joke about it and not have to be.
Were you nervous about that after you left?
No, I don't think so. I think I walked out and I was like, wow, I think that went really well. And I was really excited about it. And I remember calling my parents after and being like, and like, I actually, this is like really, oh no.
You too?
Yeah. This is when I was like in a shitty place in my other job. And I was like, I need this job because this job is going to like take me out of the job that I'm in right now. And like, I was like I needed any excuse to leave there. So I was like, I really want this job. And you called me when I was working a shift in my other one. And I literally was talking to a customer and I left immediately. I saw my phone buzz. I was like, fuck you guys, went to the back, answered the phone. And you were like, do you want the job? And I was like, fuck yes, I do. Yeah.
So then you walked out, tossed the shelves.
Yeah, basically.
Punched your boss.
No, actually, story time. I didn't quit until like 2 weeks after I had received the offer from him, because I wanted to start first and just like see how it was going. And so I quit.
So you were smart.
Yeah, I tried to be. So I quit a little bit after, and then I got a text from my boss that said, oh my God, Ellie finally quit. And yeah, and I was
that was on purpose.
Oh, cool. Okay, nice to know what you finally think of me.
That had to be on purpose.
Yeah, and then he tried to backtrack, obviously, and he was like, oh, it's great to have you working here. I was like, fuck off, dude. I never ended up answering him. And then son of a bitch tried to like get me to come in and get my check, like my last check, like come in person. And I was like, nope, you can mail it to me. That's fucked up. Like, I never want to see you again. So yeah, if you're from Winnipeg, don't go to they suck.
Nice.
The owner is literally the worst person ever.
That's great. So
yeah.
what do you think about being? Maybe I should rephrase it. So you're a Zennial, right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
So me and Willows, were talking about this the other day. We're like, at what point do you completely slip? What is it slip from your hands when you no longer understand like what's actually interesting on social media and popular? And it's like you never know when you become irrelevant, but apparently we certainly are.
I think
it's probably when TikTok blew up and we just got left behind on that. There's always something.
I don't know.
TikTok and my Zillennial employees will be like, "That's cringe," and then they'll make a TikTok that I think is cringe, and they'll be like, "This is perfect." And
yeah.
Like, okay.
I don't know. I think maybe. I honestly I think maturing has a lot to do with it, because I find things funny now that I didn't find funny when I was younger, and it may be the same humor and it may not be. Like, I think,
yeah, I guess you kind of people kind of pick like a certain era of humor that they kind of stick with for a long time. It's kind of like your parents still like the same fucking music.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
it's that sort of idea, but with meme culture and social media.
Yeah,
maybe. But anyways, like, how do you how's that working into fashion? Because obviously, like, TikTok is massive in fashion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that so influencer marketing and getting people to promote your products through sending them to them and asking for promotion in return is the biggest form of advertising that is out there right now. I think I don't know, it's crazy. You can.
It's like for the cost of material, you're getting
so much.
Yeah,
like you
which
are
is awesome.
It really is. Like, you pay whatever a creator who has a couple million followers $5-6 grand to promote your product, and they're reaching millions and millions of people, versus you pay like an advertising company 10 grand or however the fuck much you pay, and they reach like a couple 100,000 people, which is fine, but like even on TV,
and they're reaching
it's like
it
people
through ads,
right? It's not a desirable way to, and I think that also, like, I'm starting to learn that the more, like, the smaller the influencer, the more influence they have, because people are so willing to put their trust into this person. Like, they follow them for a reason. They don't follow them because they have 14 million subscribers or followers. They follow them because they genuinely like what they're doing, and they're like,
maybe feel like an insider.
Right, exactly. It's like you have, I don't know, 10K followers or something, and it seems small in the grand scheme of things, but it's like you somehow still feel connected to them, even though if you were to look at it, it's like in a football field of 10,000 people. That's crazy. That's so many people.
If I get 10,000 people in a room to sell something, like, we used to make $100,000 a weekend with 20 people in a room.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what we just talk about with this podcast, is like, we get 25 viewers an episode. It's like, could I get 25 people to fucking sit and listen to me talk?
Mm-mm.
Probably not.
No.
Not in this town.
Yeah, so it's like, it's
Yeah, I think it's really cool to be able to feel like you can, I mean, it's that parasocial relationship where you feel like you have a friendship with someone who's online, which is sometimes bad, but mostly good. I think that really benefits with like the outreach between influencer and consumer. So yeah, I mean, in the end, it works out well for the brands, because we can do, collaborations with them where it costs us virtually nothing to send them our product, and they are able to share it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like a pushed, like, I want you guys to buy this thing. It's like, I want to share it because I genuinely am interested in it, and I like it as a product, and I think that you guys would like it too. I think approaching it from that way, from a human perspective, and being like, this, I just genuinely like this thing, I think people are way more willing to trust you that way.
So what about like the design front? Are you learning a lot about that, or are you just dipping your toes in just so you can understand it, or like, where do you stand on design? Probably,
just dipping my toes in, because the one, like, so fashion marketing more has to do with marketing, and like, I think it's like, I do some visual design classes, but I'm not like working in front of a sewing machine kind of thing, which I do on my own time, so that's like just an interest that I've had for a little while, but I I mean, I'm going to be taking like fashion forecasting class, which is kind of cool. It's kind of where you I don't know if you knew this, but at every big department store there's a buyer basically who goes to like all of the brands and basically chooses what their store wants to carry in the store, and then
Right.
buys them from the brand, and then so people like, you know, the buyer at Nordstrom goes to like Gucci and goes and picks out all the Gucci things that they think is going to be popular for that year. So it's a big mixture of like business, being able to budget properly, because you have to stay within the budget that they give you, obviously. And then you have to be knowledgeable on what's popular and what's in fashion right now, what's going to stay in fashion. You can't pick things that won't sell, like the person
and
that
you can't really pivot once you've made your decision.
No, yeah, exactly. It's like I'm doing an internship right now for a Coke company here, and like even talking about designing stuff, it's like I suggest things and they're like, that's a great idea, but that won't sell. Like we need
Right.
to have, you know, people come to our website, they are intrigued by the cool like out there designs that we have, but then they come on the website, and what they really buy is the neutral patterns, the neutral things that they can wear more than one time, and you know, that kind of thing. So
That makes sense, because that was going to be one of the first things that I was going to ask about when Willows mentioned that you wanted to come on, was the just the ethics of throwaway fashion, because obviously it's something that's talked about a lot, and by your expression, obviously you've talked about or learned about it a lot, because that's probably the biggest problem with fashion right now, is it's in just the nature of it, it's a throwaway industry, right?
It is, yeah. A lot of people are I mean, trends have always been a big thing, but I think buying into trends now especially is a huge...
Yeah, they move faster, and it's just there's not a lot of profit in like sustainable long-term clothing that you wear for a whole life.
Yeah, exactly. And it's tough to be in a position where, like, so the coat company that I'm working for right now, their whole spiel is vegan leather and faux fur. And in reality, when you think of it, like, a real leather or real fur coat will last you much longer than a faux and artificial one will. So it's a bit of like a dichotomy, I guess. I don't know. It kind of... they kind of contradict themselves. It's like you don't want to buy into the fur farming industry, and you don't want to support that kind of thing, but it's also like, but now I'm going to have to spend $500 on a vegan leather coat every 5 years because it's going to deteriorate after a while. So I don't know, it depends. It's like I think if you're a person in fashion, your goal should be to encourage people to buy things that are going to last them for a long time, because in the end that is what we need to do in order to, you know, not have like crazy amounts of pollution everywhere. Like it's crazy the amount that like brands make versus the amount that they throw away. It's like 40% of their fucking inventory. Like it's crazy.
Well,
like
that's this just happened this week, but Apple lost a lawsuit against the European Union that they have to switch all their chargers to USB-C. So they can't use their proprietary Apple chargers anymore.
Yeah, no more lightning ports, yeah.
They have to use the same that all the Android chargers USB-C. Like, they have to make it
It was either that or they'd have to allow other people to manufacture their chargers.
Oh, I see.
And so that's an interesting step from like an entire government being like, okay, no, we have to like manufacture less waste and less, like, we gotta make it so the same thing is the same thing.
I think that was more about monopolizing over something. Like, it's just it's an obvious monopoly for with zero benefit to the consumer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a complete excess. It's like buying a car and then you having to buy a specific set of wheels for that car that only that manufacturer can make, and they're exorbitantly expensive.
Well, that's what Apple was doing for a while. Is that why they're...
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
exactly why they're getting slapped for it, because it's just a bad business practice.
Mhm.
It hurts the consumer and it benefits no one except for their bottom line.
I mean, they've stopped that now. I think they discontinued those Macs that they were making with no charging ports or whatever the fuck in them. Like, did you see the like the iMacs that they're not iMacs, the laptops that they were putting out, the MacBooks, they had no ports in them except for like one charging port or something, so you had to buy a completely separate hard drive that had all of the ports, like for USBs and blah blah blah.
Right, yeah,
so
they had just USB-C on the laptops.
Yeah, just making it, it's...
Which is interesting because now which is what they're being forced to now use on their iPhones.
And then didn't they just go through a lawsuit that said like they couldn't make their older iPhones slower because of their new...
Yeah, they got dinged for that as well.
Right, okay.
I think it might have been the same organization within the EU suing them for that.
You know?
So do you learn about this in your school? Like, do they point out the bad actors and you learn about those types of things?
So, like, they're not going through being like, this brand is bad, this brand is not, you should support this one and this one is whatever. It's a lot of self-driven exercises. Like, a lot of it had to do with us going out and seeing what the local fashion scene had to offer, like within Vancouver and stuff, and exploring that. And I think that a lot of it is like getting us ready for if we were wanting to start our own businesses, which is really neat. I think we may learn about more of it next year. But I think I like the self-driven part of it because it allows us to all build our own opinions about everything. You know, like we had to do a fur debate where we were talking about, you know, if we were pro fur versus against fur, and we were all sort of confused at the beginning. We're like, oh, well, obviously we're all going to be not pro fur, and our teacher was like, well, you know what, this is the reason that you may be pro fur, and blah blah blah, like you know that animal hides last a long time, and blah blah blah, and whatever. So it's like we learn things that help us make informed decisions but don't necessarily persuade us in either direction. So like I remember one of my major points in this fur debate is I was pro fur, and I was saying, you know, Indigenous people have been using fur since like forever, right? Like they have used it for a long time. It's a huge part of their culture, and if we were to take that away from them, it would be like taking away part of their culture. So yeah, I think it's cool that they can give us the opportunity to have our own opinions, make our own decisions about everything, and we can talk about it, and it's still like a very respectful environment. And
because most fur is mink, right?
It depends. It's
or a lot of it is
a lot of it's fox too.
Okay.
Like they do like fox fur, mink fur, I don't even know, like,
did you hear
like
about the
cow hides with leather, obviously.
A lot of Indigenous people that live up north, you know, they kill seals and stuff, and their pelts and caribou and stuff like that, and they always have like vegan groups being like, this is fucked up, you can't kill people, and they're like, dude, there's nothing else, like we're above the tree line, like there's nothing else we're literally gonna die if we don't do this. And a lot of Indigenous groups, especially up north, are you know, sustainable, where they pick and choose the animals they kill. So
they've got a tiny footprint, right?
Yeah.
But where I was going with the mink thing is, did you hear about the just the ridiculous things that were happening with mink farms during COVID?
No, not during COVID. I mean,
so mink were getting COVID like to a ridiculous degree, and they were culling herds, like killing tens of thousands of them because they were getting COVID and spreading it. And the way that they have these facilities is they're not controlled like a food production facility, like with livestock or whatever. There's no health codes. They don't even lock the doors.
Well,
it's just wide open.
So it's different because so there are laws on it. This is for North America. I don't know about other places like in Asia. I know
this was the US.
Okay, yeah. Like I know that there are illegal fur farms in the US that still take place, but the laws that at least we in Canada have placed around them have tried to control some of the abusive behaviors that can go on inside of the fur farms. And obviously I don't agree with the brutal parts of it, but I think one of the major points that I remember bringing up is like, if you know anything about animals at all, like their coat is directly reflective of how their physical health is.
Right.
So if the emotional health too, like if the animal is in distress, emotionally, they will like pick at their skin, they'll bite themselves, they'll tear off their fur, they'll stop growing fur in certain places. And it's like, at that point that is detrimental to your actual business. So if you want to have a successful fur farm business, you just need to treat your animals with respect and the
I think what I was hearing about it was not so much that the animals were being tormented, but it's just comes to one of those factors of like when you have large herds of animals interacting with people, they were getting disease crossover, which is a bigger problem. Even if the herd is happy and healthy and the people are happy and healthy, you can still have disease crossover. But some of them were getting out and infecting other mink farms, and some of them were infecting local deer and livestock and other people. And all of a sudden there's these random COVID hotspots that would pop up because people were getting infected by like wild like squirrels and shit that were like carrying the virus. And it was this weird kind of like side story in the US of these mink running amok with COVID-19. They're like, what do you do? Like test the mink? Like give him a quick swab, put him in an isolation cell, see if he's clear. Like
exactly. Yeah, I think that's like, I mean,
we're bad for them.
Yeah, it's
certainly.
Yeah, it's true. I think that, I mean, when you are put in that position where you're keeping an animal for one reason or another, like there's shit that might go down and it might suck. But like, I mean, most of the people that, the like PETA or whoever, like fur activists, animal activists or whatever, that would come and release animals from these like fur farms and stuff like that. It's like a lot, and it may be sad, but a lot of the animals that were there, like that's all they know. So when they're released into the wild, they die, most of them within a day, because it's like they don't know how to. So really, you aren't doing that much good. Yeah, exactly. It's like you are, and it sucks to hear that, but it's like you are taking away money from that farmer who was relying on that income for his family and his business and stuff. So yeah, and that's not to say that bad farms or farms that are, not treating the animals with respect shouldn't be shut down, because they absolutely should. But I'm just happy that there are more laws around that kind of thing now.
It comes down to like ethics and sustainability.
I think so. And
to some degree. It's not black and white.
Yeah. I think, And that was, I mean, that's like part of the reason why I love the program that I'm in, is because we explore those gray areas of kind of topics that are like, you would originally be like, well, no, I would never support fur farming. And then it's like, well, now I wear a handmade leather backpack that I know I'm going to have for the rest of my life. Be like, that Earth and Hide guy, like, it's a real leather backpack, but it's going to last me for the rest of my life. Right. Like, and that's,
are you going to get yelled at by your fellow students for that one?
No,
you brought it to class?
Actually, a lot of them complimented me on it.
Nice.
So, yeah.
You tell them it's real.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
I mean, but that's the thing. It's like, I think people automatically think one thing is bad and one thing is not, but it's like, really, that's not it at all. It's like, I don't know. And maybe like, cause I grew up with my family who was very into like fishing and hunting and blah, blah, blah. And whatever.
So you've seen it, which is good.
Yeah. So I think maybe I was a little bit biased going into this, being like, I think that there are really ethical, good ways to take from the land and give back, and not have it be, an uneven relationship, I guess, right? Like we would never want to take too much.
An idealist, I see.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
Yeah,
well,
cheers.
Willows, do you want to transition us?
Yeah, we're going to transition here into the segment that we call Shot Caller, where you, the audience, can pick the shot that we take. Today we're taking, you know it, you love it. Anytime we take have a guest we take this shot. Fucking fix your graphic design.
It's weird that it's on the side.
What? Look at that. What is this?
Oh no.
Exactly. Fix your fucking graphic design. Old Smoky Tennessee Whiskey, Mega Habanero version. Cheers.
Cheers.
Why did I get the plastic one? It's a big shot. Good reaction. Great. It's a spicy.
Delicious. Yeah, it's a little spicy. I like it.
So, Ellie, what's your end game with the fashion industry?
My end game?
Or I shouldn't say your end game. What is your mission? Because I think end games are a bad way to look at life. I think mission is probably a better way to phrase it.
Because you should always keep striving to keep working, right?
Because right now, you work for me in the summer.
Yeah.
Because this is where you grew up in Winnipeg. But in the school year, you go out to British Columbia and you do school. But what do you do? What are you trying to do? What are you
Well, I don't know. I think right now the rate that I'm going at, I'm working with a few different people. Like I'm interning at this coat place that I really enjoy now. I'm really liking the environment that I'm at. And then I'm also working on a sleepwear brand with someone in Vancouver. It's me and one of my classmates and the woman who owns it. And that's been a really cool experience. And I think that there can be an opportunity there for me if I wanted to kind of make that like a full-time commitment. Because for the past 6 months, 7 months ish, I've been doing it just of my own volition because I just like the company and I think it's cool. Which I have no issue doing, but I think expanding on that would be really cool. I've thought a little bit about doing fashion buying or merchandising or something like that, and I think that's cool too, but it has a little bit more to do with like the business side of things, which is cool if I was good at budgeting, but I'm really bad at budgeting, so I don't know if that's like I'm like super in credit card debt right now, so I don't know.
I would say don't let that crowd your confidence in it, because budgeting other people's millions or entirely different.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm excellent at financial modeling, but I cannot finance myself out of a wet paper bag. So don't let that stop you.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. Got nothing to do with each other.
I think that is cool. It's also like a lot of pressure because it's like, oh shit, I have to decide what is going to be cool and what's going to sell for the next year. You get to. Yeah, it's
a big old game.
Yeah,
and
that's
just
true.
The bet. Like I was trying to. One of my guys today, he walked into a house and just like made some very innocent mistakes, and like the guy, he didn't really do anything wrong. It just didn't work well with this customer, where it was like a repair. He had to like demolish out a part of this guy's shower because someone else had cracked it, and the guy answers the door and he's like, "Oh, I'm a little bit nervous about this." My guy's like, "Oh, me too." Started off badly. He was completely competent, but he's like was justifiably nervous because anytime you do this type of demolition, it's very hard to not create collateral damage.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a very kind of nerve-wracking experience, especially when it's not your own work or fixing someone else's shit. So got off to a bad start, to say the least. And there was like a whole ring of phone calls. Basically, I had to talk this guy back all the way back into doing this. And what really had happened was the previous contractor that he had hired, that was not us, did a really, really bad job.
Yeah.
And my guy just coming in without the
confidence,
the fuck you confidence. And I'm like, what you should have done is just like when the guy's like, I'm nervous, be like, you know what? Yeah, these things can go wrong sometimes. Let's see what you've got. Like, just kind of deflect it. And then when you're actually taking it apart, be like, oh, I can see why this broke.
Yeah.
Here's how this was done incorrectly. And I hate to say this, sir, since you probably spent a lot of money on this, but I would wager that most of what you just paid for was done wrong. And there's a good chance other things are going to fail. And when they do, give us another call and we'll help you out. Like that person is like, oh shit, maybe I made a mistake, but then feels confident in us solving their problem.
Yeah.
Very, very subtle difference, but completely changes it.
Yeah.
And what is really funny is, like, I'm really young for my trade, in addition to the phase that, in addition to the fact that I've got a baby face. And it's like, I walk in next to, like, kind of the rugged old Italian dude.
Yeah.
It's hard. The first impression is not to trust me first, but what I've learned, which is really funny, because I've been in some really big meetings with, like, the most memorable one was an investment banker.
Yeah.
Who was looking to, was like in control of like a local investment fund, and was like looking to get into some businesses. And he sat down to pitch me and this founder I was working with, and we showed up to the meeting in like grubby clothes, like had just done an oil change, and were like looked like shit. And we showed up to this like the True North Square, the top floor, like penthouse, big boardroom, like beautiful office overlooking the city. We show up to this fucking boardroom looking like a bunch of schlubs, and this investment banker has this whole presentation for us with our lawyer sitting there, and got halfway through the presentation, and we just kind of looked at each other and looked at the guy. We're like, okay, you said a lot of nice things, but like, what the hell do you bring to the table? I haven't heard a single damn thing that's like, besides writing us a check, like, what are you good for? And the guy just broke down. Like the entire presentation fell apart, and it's like, and I couldn't understand it at the time, and I'm like, we're just a bunch of dumb kids. Why couldn't he handle that? Like, I was trying to test him. I was grilling him a little bit. I'm like, I expected him to like come back at me and be like, shut up, kid. Like, fuck you, sit down. I'll tell you how business is. And we probably would have said yes on the spot if he would have done that. But like, what I've learned now, getting a little bit older, if I see someone younger than me in the same position that I am, or in a room with me, or doing business at the same level that I am, I immediately assume that younger person knows something that I don't. Yeah. Because clearly they're better than me to be in the same spot that I am. There's a reason that they're there. Yeah. Exactly. And it makes you think twice. Yeah. It's the opposite of what you think is going to happen.
People like usually will come to that situation and patronize that person, that younger person, and be like, well, you don't know as much as me. And that's like, honestly,
that's their defensive mechanism.
Right. Though. Exactly. And I honestly, like, I think it roots from insecurity. It has to, because it's like, you are
absolutely, it's insecurity. Yeah.
This like older generation, I think that we're getting better about this, but it's like they're so stuck in their ways about like, we know what's good because this worked for us. And it's like, I get that you have that proof, but it's not like the same proof of when you're like, oh, we have proof that chemotherapy works for cancer. Like, that's not the same sort of situation, right? Like, it's not it. You're right. Like, it goes. You have to grow with the you have to grow with it, I guess. It's just
you're
like
only
at
as good
this point
as yesterday's numbers or today's numbers,
I
right?
think like asking
yeah, exactly. So
I think asking people who are younger than you, and they may not know more than you, but they just know that they know their demographic, and I think that's an important aspect to it too.
Yeah. And obviously this isn't like a solid rule, and don't take it too far, but as a word of advice, as you're going into whatever future internships and careers, your positioning in marketing and being your age and what you know, when you walk into a room for like either a job interview or a new opportunity, or maybe you're working against another company, just assume that everyone in the room is intimidated by your presence. Yeah. And start from that point. Yeah. Because it's probably true.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. I think that's a huge thing that a lot of people forget, is like, you're, especially my generation, you're in a position now where you can provide a service to people that is really valuable, and that service is
and that honestly, they straight up don't understand.
Yeah, it's knowledge, literally. Like, it's knowledge of the new age of social media, the new age of advertising and marketing and stuff like that. And that's such a huge, that plays a huge role in business nowadays. And it's like, you need to have someone who is there.
Stuff to anyone.
You need to be able to like perform it, I guess, right? Like, you need to have someone who understands it and who can do it. And I think that, like, I know that it's people can teach themselves
old people especially.
If you're in a position where you're like, I don't have time to do this, or I just simply don't have the interest, it's like, it's so worth your time to hire someone who is knowledgeable about that stuff, to get to do it for you.
Well, even more so, it's just people, anyone that's in business knows, like in business, like as an entrepreneur or as a manager or has been growing something for a while, they should, and usually will be smart enough to know that they should stick to the things that they're really good at, because that's what's making the business money. So it's like, I'm not going to take away from the things that I'm really good at and go and learn something new that I'm going to be okay at. I'm going to stick to the thing I'm really good at and hire that out.
Yeah, exactly.
Because good luck trying to pivot and catch up. Because if I whatever spent my extra time to catch up to you, it would be like, you know, it'd be to the detriment of everything else, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to be a jack of all trades. You can do what you're good at, and you can hone in on that that skill and refine it and make it good and make sure that you're the best of the best. And I think that's more honorable than, you know, being half good at a bunch of things. Like it's so
another random question. So do you think that today is easier for a small fashion brand or small business to make it, or at least be successful? And, you know, I don't mean like runway successful. I mean like, can you make a living and good money at what you're doing? Do you think you're more likely as a small business to succeed today than a couple years ago? Is it going backwards or forwards?
Oh, I think it's definitely going forwards. I mean, do you think so? I think
so too. I think people are trying to get away from big fashion because of sustainability and whatever reason, right? Yeah,
I think so. I mean, I think a lot of it is it's in their head. Like, they don't really care about it, but it's like, at least you're trying, I guess. Like, I think that most of the people who buy from small businesses are like, support small businesses, but it's like, but do you know why? Like, do you know why we don't want to support Walmart and Superstore and like whenever all the big companies anymore? Like, do you like, it's nice to be able to have the knowledge of like working for a small business and like seeing meeting the people who are behind it and seeing how
scrappy it is.
Just seeing the everyday, like
how it's mundane, it's scrappy, and it's not that sexy.
Exactly. And I think that it's glamorized a lot, which is so weird to me. It's like, it's, you know, it's great that you're willing to support it, but I think it can also be like, it's weird because we're in, like, at least for fashion, I think we're in a sort of liminal space, honestly, where it's like a transitional period where people are like, I want to support local, and I want to do what I can to not contribute to the egregious amounts of pollution that there are within the fashion industry. But it's also really hard to do that when you are a broke student like I am, and like most people.
You buy what's cheap.
Yeah, exactly. And there's brands like Shein and Forever 21 and Romley and Zaful and all these online brands that are like just shipped directly from Asia that are
awful.
Like not awful. Like they're
not, good clothes, but they're
well, no, they're not though. That's the thing, and it's like,
they look good.
They're
on the screen,
right? Yeah, they look very trendy and fashionable.
They look like
and
good clothes.
Fit into
they look like good.
Right, exactly. And I think it's sad because then you hear these stories about, like, I don't know if you guys have caught this at all, but people have they'll receive their orders from like one of these brands like Shein or something, and they'll see like a note in their package or on the tag or something, and it literally says, "Help me." God. Help me, save me, SOS, like something like that. And it's like these like literal sweatshops where they're making people work for a fucking pennies a day. I remember learning about this in middle school and being like horrified at what was in front of me and being like, holy shit. Like, I think that was almost something that like a switch flipped in my brain, and I was like, I need to do something about this. I remember like I went vegetarian for like a little while, for a year and a bit, because I watched a documentary in high school about like how animals get slaughtered to go into the meat industry and stuff like that, and it's like I wish that I could convey those feelings about the fashion industry to everybody, but I also don't blame people who are still buying into those kinds of things, because I can understand the struggle of wanting to look like you fit in and feel like you fit in without having to pay the amount of money, the absurd amount of money that it seems to cost these days to look fashionable. I think it's also really shitty that a lot of people, like influencers, are telling us that the way that you look fashionable is through egregiously expensive clothing, and that is not the case at all.
Yeah, now you kind of come full circle into fashion marketing again, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like, and I mean, and there's a whole other topic about greenwashing and the fact that when you know, just because you thrift, it doesn't make you a fucking saint, right? Like you are, you know, thrifting your clothing and then selling on an app for 10 times the price is not you being sustainable, by the way. Like, just to get that out there.
I know a few women that do that. They don't necessarily need to be women, but everyone I know does it is women.
People,
Thanks for clarifying.
people that do that, yeah.
They buy shit from thrift shops and then they sell it on Instagram for 10 times what they paid for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I don't have a there's like I think that's fine if you are putting some kind of effort into modifying the garment, you know, like
fixing stuff.
Yeah.
Me, I'm not going to go to a thrift store and pick something that I like. But I might scroll on Instagram to see something that I do like. Right?
So here's the thing, right? Like, so I think what a lot of people don't know is that when you thrift those kinds of things, I think, which should be the main reason why you thrift items, is you can get good items that you will use and you'll keep for a long time for a fraction of the price that you would buy them today. So I go into the thrift store and I don't just look for trendy clothes that I think would look cute for like a few months or something, right? Like my goal when I'm there is to find things that are either of a really good brand, of really good quality, or that I know I'm going to use for the rest of my life, right? Like I will go into a store and find a wool coat and be like, this wool coat would cost me $400 if I bought it new, but it's $8 at the thrift store, right? Like, of course I'm not going to pass that up. That's an incredible deal. Like I think that there are, and that's not an issue if you want to buy that coat and then sell it for a little bit more money than you bought it for. I guess that's fine. I think that the problem starts when you start picking up items that are from fast fashion, like, oh, I found this Forever 21 top at the thrift store for $1 and I'm gonna sell it for $20. It's like, why are you doing that? Because that item is gonna go out of style in, you know, a couple months or so, and it's just gonna be back in the same cycle again, right? So I think that
but isn't that better than buying something new? Still, like a lesser of two evils, I guess. Like,
I don't know, because it's hard. Like when if you think about it that way, I guess it's like I could either buy it new from that brand, or if I buy it from this person secondhand, that brand is losing my money, I guess, like my service or whatever. So it's gonna end up going into a landfill anyways. I think thrifting is a good way to get rid of your clothes that you don't feel service you anymore, but I think that the most important thing to think about when you're doing that is what is going to stay in my life for a long time. What am I going to use for years and years on end? Because you should use your clothing until they are literally falling apart. That is how you were supposed to use it. It's
So I wear a lot of suits and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest things that I ever heard that I heard like for advice, and like, oh, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Steve Harvey. But seriously.
Famous business mogul Steve Harvey.
Right, yeah, obviously.
He did a thing where he was talking about, he's like, buy a black suit, buy a gray suit, buy a brown suit, you know, whatever, like, mm-hmm. and then buy a white dress shirt, buy a blue dress shirt, buy a red dress shirt, well, and he like gave all whatever, and he's like, that should cost you like $500, all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts, like, you can Google probably this, but he was like, and then you take the black one, match it with the white one.
Yeah.
You take the brown one, it's the blue and the brown and the red one.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take the blue one, it's the this and this and the, and he
That's called a
matches it.
capsule wardrobe, if you didn't know.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So, but I remember watching this when I was like 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, starts explaining, he's like, yeah, you can spend, $500 on 4 jackets, 10 shirts,
Yeah.
whatever, and you can make 75 outfits.
Yeah.
Because you can mix and match.
I think that idea is what, like, that is the framework of what a capsule wardrobe or a sustainable wardrobe is, right? Like, it's...
See, here's the thing, Ellie. Is
Yeah.
when I listened to that, I was literally about to be homeless.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, I was homeless.
Yeah.
And one of the, and I'm white, obviously, so that helped me when I was homeless. Because I could be like, hey, I'm a white man, help me.
Mm-hmm.
But part of the thing that helped me when I was homeless is that I was well dressed. Like,
Yeah.
I had these suits that I would beg my friends. I'm like, can I just hang this up in your house? So I had like 10 suits. You were there. Like, I had like 10 suits between 3 of my friends hanging in their closets. So if I ever needed to do something, I would like take their suit, my suit out of there, and it helps that I was a white male, obviously, but being homeless, if I put on a nice suit, all of a sudden I was
You're not a homeless guy.
Respected
You're a
more,
guy in
yeah.
a suit.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, thanks.
So-
Thanks centuries of white colonialism. They're like,
Yeah.
suits, this is fashion forever. For men,
Right.
you got it. That's it. Buy one, you're good till you're dead.
Yeah.
As long as you don't get fat.
So it is what it is. So like I'm not trying to be like go buy but I'm just telling you what happened to me. It's like
Yeah.
you eat $100 at a thrift store, I could make 20 outfits.
Yeah.
And especially for like interviewing for a job or anything like that, you show up in one outfit, and
Yeah.
the follow-up interview, you show up in a different outfit.
Mm-hmm.
All you need is 2 outfits, and you've got the job.
Yeah.
Basically, like I've been there.
Yeah.
Like, and
I mean, I think that's great advice. I think that the reason the people aren't or haven't been listening to that for a while is because the past 20, 30 years have been drilling into our heads about that wearing the same thing over and over again isn't cool, and that won't make you fun, that won't make you cool, that won't make you popular. Like, you need to have like this whole charade of like, even in movies it was like showing people wearing like, well, why are you wearing the same thing in 1 week?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm allowed to re-wear my clothes, dude.
So
what the fuck?
Here's a fun exercise.
Yeah.
Think about 3, let's say 2 or 3 people you see on a regular basis, and now name 3 of their outfits that you've seen more than 5
I mean,
name 1 outfit you've seen more than 5 times
like
on them.
every time I see my boyfriend, he wears sweat shorts and a t-shirt.
Sure. So maybe you know what your boyfriend wears, but like think about a coworker and like it's very hard. Like even think about your parents. Like okay, maybe you could nail that down, but how often are you seeing them? Like I started feeling, or I kind of got over the self-consciousness of that because I was rocking. I think I had 3.5 suits that I wore for 4 years every single day, and yeah, it worked out really well. But like I was like, I was feeling a bit self-conscious about it because I'm like, I can only afford 3 suits right now, and then I also realized I'm like, wait, what are the other guys? I'm like, holy shit, I don't know how many suits anybody else has. I'm like, there's no fucking way they know how many suits I have. And I'm like, why do I care? And I'm like, I'm not paying attention. I'm thinking about what I'm wearing. I'm not counting their suits. I'm counting my suits.
That's,
when I was homeless and I was hanging up fucking suits I had 10 suits between 3 people's houses. And I was like planning, like, okay, what dress shirt goes with what jacket.
Yeah.
And all that. And it was like, no one thinks about it.
Yeah.
Did you wear that jacket before?
Well, it's the same.
I think you
thing
wore
of,
that
like,
jacket with a dress shirt the other day.
Okay, but I wore a different tie.
Oh shit.
But
I went to Toronto.
it's the same thing of like when people get insecure at the gym.
Yeah.
It's like you
No
like
one's paying
trust
attention,
me,
yeah.
nobody's paying attention. Everyone is looking at themselves, and I know that it like
Or that
you
girl over
can't-
there.
No.
Or Ellie.
No, like it's seriously like everyone is paying attention to themselves, and because it sucks to hear, and it's going to be hard to like realize this, but every single person is insecure. Every single person is thinking about what they're doing all the time, constantly, 100% of the time. Like it happens.
And
like,
everyone thinks they're behind the ball.
Everyone thinks that yeah, exactly. Everyone thinks that they're lacking and that they have to pick up like
Except for Daryl. Daryl
like-
wears ponchos when everyone else wears hoodies. He is his own person, and he does not give a fuck about your sweater, whether it's Gucci or
But
not.
even Daryl probably has insecurities, right?
Probably.
Like and it may not be things that we see, but
No,
it's like
yeah.
I trust me, your favorite Instagram influencers have probably the most insecurities out of everyone that you know, because there's, it's
Their image
like,
is micromanaged.
yeah, exactly. And it's like I mean, it's a whole different topic, but I couldn't imagine being in like the public eye like that. That would be horrendous for your mental health. Like that's crazy. I don't know how they do it, but I think that it's like everyone experiences it, and I think once you let that guard down of like caring so much about what other people think of you. And another thing is like, I mean, I had this in my notes about like it sounds stupid to say, and people are gonna like listen to this and be like, that's like, I've heard this from everybody, but like honestly, confidence helps you 1,000%, because people are attracted to people who are confident. It's just nature. Like it's honestly biology. Like I'm more attracted to confident men than I am men who aren't as confident in themselves. So I think
Tyler.
it's
We actually had a weird situation today at a job site where these guys came in with like a really expensive delivery, like a bunch of custom windows and doors.
yeah.
And they're like, oh, where do we put this? Like, who do we talk to? And one of the guys was like, I don't know, I'm not in charge. Your project manager isn't here.
Yeah.
And every time that happens, I'll walk right into the
Yeah.
delivery driver and be like, yeah, okay, what do you got? Put it, like, I just start giving orders and I
Yeah.
take charge.
Yeah.
And sometimes the project manager will actually be there and be walk up. He's like, the fuck, Tyler, this isn't your
Yeah.
job site. I'm like, well, yeah, you weren't around. Like, you weren't here, buddy. And I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I just take fucking charge.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of entertaining to me because I know I'm not in charge, but it's kind of funny.
Ellie, is that you want to have sex with Tyler?
No. That's not at all what I'm
No,
saying.
that's not what she's saying at all.
No, not even a little bit.
Maybe not.
I was gonna say, like, I think it's really cool, and I think it's a good way to see if people are leaders or not. Like, I think that when you kind of put them in the thick of things and be like, can you figure this out? Like, can you problem solve by yourself? That's a great way to tell if someone is able to lead a group or not. And I think it's also like people who are leaders have a natural attraction, I guess, towards them, and people are naturally willing to listen to them more. So I think when you have that skill, it's a really special skill to have, and I don't think that you should suppress it. I think that, like, if you are in a position where, like, even now when I'm interning, like, I don't I mean, even as a woman too, it's like most of my identity has been like make myself smaller in order for other people to feel bigger, right? Like I don't, and that's a huge feat that women are trying to overcome, I guess, as a whole. It's like I don't need to make myself feel smaller or need to like make my space smaller to make someone else feel better, right? Like that is not my decision. You need to have your own identity, right?
Hello, welcome back. We've been talking 40 minutes off camera, but welcome back to the show.
What's it called again?
Alcohol Beyond This Point.
Welcome back
like
to
on the
Alcohol
sign.
Beyond This Point
Alcohol Beyond This Point
podcast.
So the last segment that we call on this show is called tip of the morning.
There's a joke.
And this is
Show her the video.
a part of the show that you, the audience, we give a tip to you that we are currently going through in life or business. And so my tip relates to Ellie, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
but also relates to this new person that I've been interviewing that we both interviewed. And so I do interviews for jobs, obviously. I interview people to work for me.
And no one ever hires him.
I have 6 employees, and I interview people. And I really don't look at the resume when they send it in the resume.
It's not a good thing that you should say.
No, seriously, I don't think that the resume is a good representation of what you're going to do. How you're going to be in business.
You can very inaccurately represent
for the books,
yourself.
I think that I you should take some information from the resume just to get a general idea of how the person
Well, Willows,
is
you've
and
told
how
me
experienced they
you've
are.
told me before you won't give someone an interview if their resume is more than a page.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've said that, yeah. And you know that too.
I do, yeah.
Ellie, who I interviewed. And
Which, by the way, resume lesson really quickly, if you are looking to apply somewhere, actually, like, this doesn't apply just for Willows himself. It's like everybody doesn't want to read more than a page worth of resume, so you don't have to write paragraphs and paragraphs about all the things that you've accomplished and all of the feats that you've overcome and blah, blah, blah. Like, write down what you're good at, what you know, your education, where you can contact, and then that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you need.
Bitch,
To be fair, I sent him like a 2-page resume and he was mad.
seriously, 2...
Because at that point, it's braggy. Like, I don't
Well,
need
it
to
was
know.
someone with
and when you're,
25 years of work experience.
Exactly.
Of
Like, if
industry-
you have
industry
25
experience.
years of
Give
work
me the fucking
experience,
biggest one.
right, tell me the top 3. I don't need to know that you worked at McDonald's when you were 17. I don't
Yeah.
care about that. Like, that's not relevant to me right now. But if you are 17 and that's the only place you've worked, then say, I've worked at McDonald's and I've done this volunteering for this person and I've done blah, blah, blah. Make sure it's not, like, it's completely filled with fucking bullshit. But if you have extra space on your resume, right, like, oh, I am proficient in Adobe software or Microsoft Office software or whatever.
So Ellie, I hired you after you sent me a resume, and it was 2 pages. And
Was it really?
It was.
I don't think it was.
It was.
I think that you're lying.
No, it was. And I almost dumped it. But the reason why I kept it was because of that weird Australian.
Yeah.
You can tell the listeners this. This is pretty good. It's a good story. That she visited these Australian.
Well, I lived in Australia. I lived in Australia for a little while, and I lived in Adelaide, and then my parents and I wanted to explore the Barossa Valley, which is the wine region in Australia, like the main super popular one. And I was like, I don't know, 10, 12 years old at this point, so I couldn't try any of the wines, but I thought it was really interesting. I learned a lot about wine in general, which was kind of weird that I retained that information from such a young age. But there was a part of my life where I was like, I kind of want to be a sommelier. Like, that would be kind of neat. Like, just serving people wine, telling them about it, like what, yeah, so I was really interested in it for a little while, and my parents were never the type of people who are like, you're not allowed to drink till you're 18. Like, they were like, if you are comfortable here, you can drink with our supervision. We don't care. So I got to kind of expand my knowledge around that sort of area, and that was really neat to me. So I added that to my resume because I thought that would give me a boost.
That I read, and I think I said about 100 resumes, and I tried to cut it down to like 30, and you were one of the 30 because of that.
I mean, we stopped talking about fashion like a long time ago, but well, okay. I mean, I think, as I said before, I think that fashion is 90% confidence. So if you are, I mean, it sounds stupid and repetitive because I feel like everyone's heard it from their parents, but like, honestly, if you are confident with yourself, like, I've been in situations where I didn't feel like, oh, this isn't my most creative outfit, or this isn't my best look, or whatever the hell. It's like, if I walk into a room and you pretend that everybody is looking at you, which is never the case. Nobody's ever looking at you. But if you just act like you are a fucking celebrity, and like you are the most important person in the room, and you have that sense of confidence, people will look at you and they'll notice you. And it's, I don't know, like I like to live my life that way because it boosts my confidence to walk into a room and feel like I feel like the shit right now. Like I look so good. Like everybody here is looking at me, and that may not be the truth, but I don't give a fuck because at least it makes me feel good and it makes me feel confident in what I'm wearing. And I don't know. I think like it's a different territory when you're in different spaces. Like if it's harder to be confident sometimes when you have people that you think are better than you around you or something like that, or who are more creative or something. But I think that thinking that way will just make you feel shittier about yourself. So I think if you try to shift your focus onto things like, I'm good at this because of this reason, and that person may not be good at this or whatever. Like I think that if you focus on the things that you can bring to the table that are different and that are important, I think that's really cool. And that's how you will get people to notice you and get people to be like, oh, I like your outfit or something like that. I get the most confidence and the most compliments on my outfit and stuff when I walk into a room with...
And you're wearing the fuck out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like when I walk into the room and I'm like, I'm the best dressed here, or I look the best in the room, which completely is not true, but I think that it's easy to be convincing. I think that it's easy to convince people that you know what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
When you look like the part, right?
I just YouTubed how to do this on my way in. You should trust me.
Yeah.
But
it's honestly
like,
fake it till you make it.
Like, fake it.
Yeah.
I started wearing a suit. Like, when I started the business, it's like I bought a nice tie, and I started wearing nice. And then when you have meetings with government and you're wearing a nice suit, it's like, yeah, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's bullshit, but
it's incredible how much people perceive just based off on your looks, right?
You know
like
what's weird too is that you are.
Really? The top hat?
Jesus Christ.
You do a lot of style that's like unrelated to like the style that I could do is not the style that you could do. Right? Like,
I think Ellie would look better in a suit than you.
You study style.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. So I just kind of do whatever. But you kind of have these weird situations where you're like, I know what's going to look good. And like,
right.
So, like, even though you're younger than me, you're, like, less, like, objectively experienced than I am. You, like, walk in, you're wearing this fucking weird outfit.
Mm-hmm.
Which is often... I wrote a recommendation for you.
Yeah.
And one of the things I said in that...
She might dress a little bit weird, but yeah. I remember. I mean, that was the most heartfelt like thing that I've read about myself in a long time, which was a nice like confidence boost, I guess. But I think it goes to show how much if you just own what you wear, and you don't give a fuck about it, like people will be like, I think that's how you build leaders, honestly, is like if you don't give a fuck about what people think, people will follow you because they'll be like, holy shit, this person, this person knows what they're talking about, when in reality, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just pretending, like literally I am faking it till I make it kind of shit. Like Ellie, it is.
The thing I said when I wrote a recommendation for you is that basically if you can put up with this weird zillennial fucking clothes, then she'll be good. She'll be great.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I ended it with saying I would risk my reputation on it.
Yeah.
Because, and even now that you've come back to do a like for the reference for those of you, she worked for me last year, but she went to go to school far away, and so quit. Obviously, didn't go to school, but she was coming back here to do work for me this year because whatever the situation with the job you had before didn't work. Whatever.
Yeah. Just boring, honestly.
And the little progress that you've made with me, where I can like be like, this is what needs to happen, but then you have this like own progress that you like. I have this fashion that I can take with context and change what you're telling me to do and make content based different than what you're telling me to do, because based on the year or 9 months of what I've experienced, right? I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
And you know, even if you're gonna work with me for a summer and then leave, that's an interesting thing to say to someone who's listening to this. I think there's a lot of it's just like a lot of progress there, right? Like
value in being able to be your own person and I don't know. Yeah, I think maybe it's like the confidence thing. I think has to do with not only fashion but also when you hired me, you were like, "Are you comfortable working independently?" And that was a huge thing. I was like, "Oh fuck, I don't know." Like I'm.
That's a big.
Yeah, I think it's. I remember going into my school stuff being like, with a lot of confidence, mostly because I was coming from a smaller town where I would walk into an establishment and like get a lot of compliments on my outfits and, you know, the way that I carried myself, which I really appreciated. And then I moved to a bigger city and I was like, oh, I'm not getting the same attention that I was when I was at home, which like is completely fine, but it was different, right? It's like I felt like oh my God, I have to step up my game or something. But it's like just because you were getting attention somewhere and you aren't in a different place, it doesn't mean that you have to change who you are or what you're doing to make yourself more desirable, because the more yourself and the more like you own who you are as a person, the more desirable you become just as, you know, a human in general. I think that, I even noticed this about Rain. It's like when talking to her, like she's a complete nerd. Like she's a fucking nerd. Like, yeah, like she's a total nerd. And the reason that I like her and the reason that I like would want to hang out with her more is because she doesn't give a fuck what people think of her, and she just owns it. And she owns the shit out of it, and she's like,
when you said wear whatever the fuck you want, but wear with confidence, Rain popped into my head.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, like
it's
immediately.
Like, it doesn't matter what you wear. Like I may think it's a bad outfit, someone else may think it's a bad outfit, but if you wear it with confidence, people are gonna look at you and they're gonna notice you. And I know that that's like, it's weird to think that that's a desirable thing to get people to look at you, but like when people look at you, that's how you know that they are intrigued with what you're doing, right? Like it may not be they may be looking at you and being like, well, why is she wearing that? But it's like, at least I made an impression in their head, right? Like they're gonna go home and tell their wife, like, I saw this woman wearing booty shorts today at the store or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, I'm still in your mind. Like I'm still like, you are talking about me.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you're gonna be thinking about that later on tonight. Like I don't know. And I think like it's the most important thing is to just make sure that you do everything intentionally. You do it because you want to, not because someone else wants you to, because you feel confident to do that. And also that doesn't mean wearing provocative things too. Like if you want to wear
Unless you want
a fucking floor-length dress or floor-length ball gown to the grocery store, then you do
Fuck
it,
yeah.
right? Like,
or like a rubber wetsuit with a full face mask because
Who the
COVID's
fuck
gonna get
cares?
you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like people will look at you, but if you have this confidence in you and you keep telling yourself, like, I don't give a fuck what other people think, people will, like, that vibe will emit from you, and they'll be like, oh shit, like, I don't, you know, maybe that person is a little bit weird, but I respect them for being confident enough to wear that in public or do that in public or whatever.
So Willis, what's your tip?
I already gave it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your tip?
Mine is right now specifically taking back my time and changing up my hours, because summertime is a really, really great time to not be working late or too much, because it's extra depressing in my opinion. I don't feel too depressed when I'm working on like a cold shitty night. I'm like, whatever, I'd just be sitting on the fucking couch anyways, I might as well make some money. But summertime, if I'm working late or too much, I get extra depressed. So I've now switched my schedule to be 4 days a week for the rest of the summer. So for until I feel like not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
Gonna be doing 4 days a week, and it's also more economical because less gas money, because only 4 days a week versus 5.
That's great, because you're living in the city, right?
Same number of hours, but my job sites change all the time. But it's more productive. Like, there's a lot of benefits. It might stick to it long term.
Do you
I don't
still
know.
work out of Morden usually?
No, I live in Elmwood.
Oh, okay.
So, but our job sites are like, I was in like Birds Hill, and then I was
Right.
in like halfway to St. Anne's, and then I was in River Heights, and then I was
Yeah.
in Charleswood, and then we're in Transcona, then I was in Oak Bank. Like, it's
Yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah.
But
Do you find that this is a pretty central place that you can kind of get to easily? Yeah. Okay, that's good.
yeah, so I'm all over the place, but like the fucking gas prices are crazy right now, obviously.
Oh, Jesus Lord, yeah.
Yeah, it just went over $2 a liter, which is what, $7-8 a gallon, and converted. So
My
fantastic.
teacher actually stopped making us go into class in person because she was like, the gas prices are so high, I don't want you guys to spend that.
But yeah, anyway, so I switched up my time, and
Anyway, thank
I've
you for listening to
Thanks for listening to Alcohol Beyond This Point.
where
podcast.
alcohol was before this point for Willows.
Alcohol was before this point since 2 p.m. and I had to drive Willows home from the bar.
I know about that. You can follow us, Alcohol Beyond This Point.
Follow me at Ellie.
Instagram,
What? I
Alcohol
don't
Beyond This
remember.
Point.
Yeah, Ellie, plug your own shit, please.
Plug my own.
Yeah, do you want people to follow you?
Yeah, I do want people to follow
Yeah,
me.
what's your-
Follow me on Instagram at elliehudson.c.
Spell it.
There you go.
Spell it.
ELLIEHUDSON.c.
Hudson like the company, unproblematic.
Hudson like the
Thank you.
company. No, actually, that's what I mean. I wasn't named after the company. I was named after the actual
The
bay.
company was named after you.
The company was named after me. I'm actually 114 years old, you guys. Did you know that?
Wow, you're wearing it well.
Okay. Thank you.
Good job.
I try.
You're
You know.
hot for 400 years.
Thanks. It's my concealer. Does wonders.
Tyler, you good?
You good?
Okay, man. Fucking episode 75. Follow us.
Nice to meet you guys. I'm sure you're all incels. Don't worry. You
I'm
will
not.
find a
I
woman
swear.
soon. You will find someone
I
soon.
swear, but Tyler, I don't know about that, but whatever.
Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast.